morning. My name is Dr. Felice Cellini, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And this is our Why Wait for Recovery Sunday morning recovery meeting. Can you scooch this way, baby? Because we can't see in the picture. There you go. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name's Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I am a food addict, drug addict. I am that compulsive binge and overeater. I am an addict, and welcome everyone.
I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic in recovery. Welcome. So,
we get together every Sunday, and what we do is we discuss recovery and what it looks like, how we get it, how we live life on life's terms, essentially. And if you want to join us, you can join us either on Facebook or YouTube. Invite friends to join us, because it's really friends getting together, discussing how do you live life in the moment.
Yeah, and how to live life in recovery, you guys, as opposed to the chaos that we live in when we're in active addiction. How to get some acceptance and how to change our perspective, how to understand boundaries, and how to get some happy. So good morning, and thanks you guys for coming to share with us this morning. Angelique, can we put out there that anybody who has any questions, that they could go ahead and send their questions in, and then we'll answer them?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody.
So, I'm happy that you brought up happy, okay? Because I was thinking about it this morning when I was getting dressed. And you know, in the days when I was using, my happy periods the happy periods were shorter and shorter, and the down and miserable periods were longer and longer. So I was getting certain payoffs, those instant gratification moments were just really shorter. And being in recovery, I found that those happier times actually last longer because it's given me a choice.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm going to tell you that when I was in active addiction, I thought that I had even a couple of moments of happy, right? Where you feel like, oh, I'm going to use, and then I'm going to feel so much better. And actually, as I was going through that, and when I was using, I was really always petrified. I was always scared, and I was always ashamed. But I still thought that that moment that I felt different, that's what was making me happy. And I had absolutely no idea of really what was happening in the world around me. And it wasn't that I didn't care, because I didn't know what to care about at that time.
I also didn't know how to care, and also that sense of happiness I always thought happiness was being in a euphoric state all the time. The first time I got high, I hated it, but the second time, let's discuss the second time, which was really that stage of where I thought I was so spiritual and so happy and so connected and totally euphoric. And my sense of happiness and my terms of happiness has really changed since I've been in recovery, because for me that's been more a sense of serenity and acceptance, because when I'm sitting in that space, I'm at peace with the world and myself, and it takes a lot less to start getting me uptight, aggravated. And it's not that stuff doesn't happen and I don't get aggravated and annoyed at times, but at least today I've got a choice how long I want to stay there for.
Yeah, and so you're talking about acceptance, which is awesome, and which is what you just said.
Right, which is what I just said.
Yeah, and accepting that the world is turning the way that the world turns, and understanding what I'm in control of and what I'm not in control of, right? To let go of the stuff that I'm not in control of, and to understand that what I am in control of is my own perspective and my own actions. It's so weird, actually, how when we're using, we have that false sense of, oh, okay, well, I'm going to feel good and I'm going to be happy and I'm going to feel well and I'm going to be happy. And that just, once we're in active addiction with all of that chaos, that part never comes. And we're actually chasing chaos, which is what our brain gets used to, as opposed to having any type of serenity. For me, anyway, that's how it was for me.
And that's how it was for me as well. This recovery thing isn't an instantaneous thing. It's a process. It's been a process for me, a process of learning and discovery. But I also realized what brought, I also had time to reflect on what brought me here in the beginning, because I was chatting to some friends yesterday. When I came into these rooms, I was breathing. I really was just existing from day to day. I wasn't living for anything. I was absolutely miserable, empty on the inside. My life, as I saw it, was miserable and hopeless. I was living in pain constantly, and I just felt that I had nothing to look forward to, and if I died tomorrow, it would be okay. I didn't realize that was my addiction speaking to me. I thought that was the way that I had to live my life, was being in that state the whole time until I met Felice. you know, and that became a journey of discovery and recovery. And what recovery's really given me is a life. It's given me a life to be able to be in the moment and enjoy life. You know, it takes a lot of work though.
Yeah, it takes a whole lot of work, and it's so funny because when we're in active addiction, we're stuck in chaos and sick and scared, and we think that it's okay to be there, and that is what we chase. And so we're stuck in sick and scared, and every day we wake up and do the same behavior over and over again to stay stuck in sick and scared. It's really, addiction sucks. Like, it really does. It's so crazy and it sucks so badly, and it's so hard to see it when we're in the middle of it. And you guys, if you know somebody that's suffering, you know, we can't talk anybody into recovery.
No.
But if you know somebody that's suffering, sometimes it's okay just to open up, share a little bit of your story so that they're not afraid to share a little bit of theirs. And reach your hand out when somebody else is sick and suffering. It gives us a chance to get out of our own head, right? Reach out to somebody else and ask somebody else how they're doing. Yeah.
So, and that's service. I mean, service is really gratitude and paying it forward. And it depends where you are. You know, if you're not ready to do that, invite them to our meeting and then we can do it for you. You know, that's the other thing. So, the crazy thing is, at that stage where I was at the bleakest, I was the most chaotic. I was very judgmental. I was looking at everyone else around me and everything else happening around in the world other than really looking at me. So I was really, I've got kids, I've got a husband, I've got work, I've got all these other things. And I was always judging and looking at what was wrong with them, because I never believed that anything was wrong with me. Okay, I believed that everything was perfect, yet I kept doing the same things over and over again and being exceptionally miserable.
Yeah, and for me, you know, I got to that point that I guess that we all do, where I knew that nothing was perfect and nothing was okay. And I was just scared and I didn't know how to get better. You know, we talk about ego, what your opinion of me is. You know, what would happen if I told somebody? You know, what would people think of me? And what would that do with my place that I think that I have in this universe? You know, that stuff that I make up in my own head about where I am in this universe. And the thing that keeps most addicts in active addiction is that fear. Not only fear of not, you know, we say that living our life with our addiction is so horrible, but the thought of living our life without our addiction is even scarier and even more horrible. And so once I say it out loud, I have this challenge, then I'm going to put it out there on the table for somebody to help me. And do I really want to get help? And then how are people going to look at me once I do ask for help? So it's really a scary process.
So as a food addict at that stage, which really, I was 120 pounds more than I am now, when my doctor would say to me, listen, you know, you're starting to have issues, you've got to stop doing things, or why are you doing things? I would always say, but I'm eating well. You know, I'm not eating.
You were lying?
I was lying all the time. And, you know, I'd look at addicts as people who lived under bridges and in cardboard boxes, or degenerates, or people who really were on the outskirts of society. And I always had this idea in my head that they were bad people. You know, I could never comprehend that there were people who were sick and struggling, that I was actually one of them, until I started hearing people share their stories. And with that, as I identified with the feelings, because our stories might be very different when we get into it, whatever our journey begins with, as we start listening with an open mind and open heart, because it really is a story, it's a heart journey, I started finding more similarities and more things to identify with, because those feelings of shame and guilt and demoralization were the same. We all experience the same thing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and that part of that recovery, a big part of our recovery, is finding our sameness with others, as opposed to finding what's different or looking for what's different that sets me apart. But just looking at all of us and finding the things that, you guys, I don't care what you're addicted to, addiction's addiction. So it doesn't matter if you're shooting up or if you're eating 43 Oreos or if you're throwing up, it's all the same thing, right? We're all, you know, we wake up in the morning and there's a certain behavior that we promise ourselves that we're not going to do today. And we do it anyway, and we go to bed guilty, and we wake up ashamed, and we're scared, and we're living in the middle of sick and scared, and we do the same behavior over again. and we're so stuck and can't believe that we're doing it, but don't know how not to do it. And that goes with any substance that we're abusing or any behavior that's abusive behavior that's getting in the way of us living a life of happiness.
Do you know what I'm really curious about is, you know, we have people that join us from all over. I'm really curious what brought them here. You know, why did they decide to step into recovery, or what brought them to try something different instead of doing what they were always doing? I mean, really, I'm curious.
Yeah, and most of us live there for quite a while before we get to that point where we're sick enough and scared enough that we decide that something's going to change, or maybe I'm going to die today.
No,
That's how it was for me. So,
and I think it's also important because for some of us who are in recovery for a longer period, you know, people here from at different stages. Some people are considering it, some people are one day in, some people are years in. And I think the longer you're in it, the more complacent, the tendency is to become more complacent about your recovery. And I think it's really important to step back and see where we started from as well. So it keeps things in perspective, because my addiction lives with me 24/7. It's always there, it's always talking to me. When things get difficult, and there are difficulties and there are challenges, then that addiction talks to me really loudly at times. You know, I'm not recovered. Every single day is a new day. So I'd love to ask our friends here if they'd like to share.
yeah, and I'm glad that you said about recovered. So we recover spiritually.
Right.
As far as brain chemistry goes, we don't recover from that. So an addict is always an addict, right? So if we pick up that substance that starts that behavior, that craving and that obsession, that's always there. That's never ever gonna go away. Spiritually, do we get well? Yes. Our brain talking to us chemically, does that get easier? Yeah. Does it go away? No, it doesn't. It doesn't go away completely.
So I'd love to just share in terms of what that looks like. You know, when that compulsion does disappear, and that compulsion for me was getting in my car and driving for hours, or sitting and waiting for a dealer, or doing the drive-throughs. It was all the time that I spent thinking about feeding my disease and getting more, and how I'm going to find the next whatever it was, be it food, be it drugs, whatever it was, no matter how uncomfortable it was. And that was what was driving my behaviors every single day. That obsession gets lifted, and that's what you're talking about. That it's not the thinking that gets lifted, because it becomes the space between those thoughts gets longer and longer and longer, but that compulsion, that need to use and have to pick up, that's what shifts, and that's what changes.
Yeah, and staying connected is what helps us stay in recovery. So speaking of staying connected, I would like to, yeah. Hey Karen, how are you? Oh, we lost Karen for a second. Hi Karen, can you hear
Hi, I'm
us?
sorry, I'm there. I'm here.
You're not sorry.
I'm
You're
not sorry, I'm
awesome
awesome.
and freezing, right?
Yeah, breathing, very much so. You know, as Haiti was speaking about what brought us to this point, or me to this point, I was constantly looking for, I knew there had to be something else out there, because the surgery helped me lose weight, but that obviously didn't fix my addiction, my compulsion to eat, my striving to work around the surgery and eat what I wanted to eat. And so I happened on you all just by accident, and then I started binge watching the recorded meetings and binge. Yeah, sorry.
That was awesome, actually.
But that's it, and it clicked. It's just like, oh my gosh, and I never had thought of myself in those terms as an addict. I had family members. I came from a family of alcoholics and other addictions, but it just never made sense to me until I started thinking about it and listening to you all, and it just clicked, and it just still resonates so well.
And I remember during workshop or during our work together where you actually had a moment or spoke about a moment where you said, well, I'm not going to say who in your family, but where you said so-and-so was an alcoholic. And I just realized, you know, and you judged that person so harshly for their addiction.
I did.
And then you realized that the driving force behind what was going on with you was the same driving force that was going on behind that other addict.
And really, I could see very well that I had all of these addictive tendencies. I had all my life. I've been kind of that, how do I get more? One is too many, 1,000 is never enough. So that kind of thing. And that's how I lived my life. And it just like, oh my gosh, how did I miss this for so long?
And when you talk about that, Karen, you talk about the physical part. Right? When we talk about one is too many and 1,000 is never enough, which is what they say in AA, shout out to all the A groups. We're not a part of those. We're separate from those, but they're all amazing. So shout out to all of them and everybody that's gotten clean in one of those rooms. So when we talk about that, we talk about the physical part of the addiction. And when we talk about stepping into recovery, we talk about changing spiritually, about letting go of the judgment, about having acceptance, about knowing that no matter how I present, I am incapable of changing the way that you feel. And you went through a lot of that where if I do this, the world will act or react like this. And you found out that that's not the way that it is.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And Karen, I just want to, we've known you for a little while now, actually. And isn't it interesting, like when we first come in, we've got, well, I can relate to this with you, is that physically we've got everything. We've got beautiful homes, we've got husbands, we've got a wonderful family. Anything materially that you'd want, you've got. And it's not enough. That isn't feeding that hole inside of us, that emptiness and that sense of disease or dis-ease or uneasiness on the inside. But the rest of the world doesn't know it, because when they look at us, we're very put together. Everything looks, we show up, everything's perfect and everything's okay. And isn't that the craziest thing?
Yeah.
It is a ton, and it's a ton of work to maintain that facade, or to at least to print into myself, that makes everything okay.
And it's exhausting. Didn't you
It is
find that at the
exhausting.
end of the day you were exhausted and you're trying to control all these people and these things around you that you got absolutely no control over?
Yeah, that whole to thine own self be true, and you're only as sick as your secrets, and you walk around lying. You're lying to yourself, you're lying to the world, you're putting on these masks for other people to see. And again, you're stuck and sick and scared all the time.
Yeah.
If I don't do this, this isn't going to happen. And if I just say this, and if I just go here, and if I just do this, and if I just wear this, and if I just look like this, then everything's going to be okay, because we think what's out there changes what's in here. And that's backward, you guys. When we change what's in here, we see what's out there differently. And that's what allows us to be happy. And that's the difference between living in chaos and living in recovery. Biggest lesson that we've learned, right?
Right.
Something else really interesting that I can identify with you with, I always thought that service was doing so much things for other people. I was generous, I was kind, I was always doing a million things for everyone else, and my life was full.
Why?
Well, that's what I'm coming to.
Right.
So all the time I was running and my days were busy and I was going to places I didn't necessarily want to go to, and I was turning my whole schedule upside down to accommodate other people. So that was my ego. That was me wanting to look good to others, but not being of service to myself, and not being authentic, and not being honest within myself, and having the inability to say no. The hardest word I've learned to say in recovery is no, and not feel guilty over saying it, or not feel ashamed over saying it, or not feel anything over saying it. And that's been one of the most empowering parts of my journey.
Yeah, and so service isn't that I do something so that you like me.
That's been my problem, is I've learned that I really wasn't doing service. I was doing it for a payback. You'll like me, or the world will. I feel like I'm in control, or the world will be what I think it is. So it wasn't really service at all.
When I can see so simply that I'm doing something for a payback. Did you guys ever hold the door open for somebody and they walk through the door? And you say out loud, thank you. Why are you holding the door open if you're doing it for a thank you? That's not being of service, that's a manipulation. If I'm doing something because I'm a good, kind person, person and I want to do something nice to put it out there for the universe, I don't need the thank you. I don't need the attaboy. I don't need the pat on the back. I don't need you to feel indebted to me. That's all a manipulation. If I open up the door so you can pass, I'm opening the door so you can pass. Right? Such a simple, little tiny thing to look at, but that's where I see myself manipulating. So simple little things like that. And so if we could pay attention to simple little things, we could see the really big things. This is what we talked about, the tickets, right? For the concert that you guys went to, or the play, the ballet that you guys went to.
The Nutcracker. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and I did this for you guys, and it's okay. We talked about to have boundaries. Right? Hey, I just spent $300 on tickets. I want everybody to put a smile on their face and be nice. Or next time I'm not going to do it because it doesn't feel good to me. That's okay. That's not a manipulation. But to do it and then after have a challenge about it, well, you know, this one said this and this one wasn't this and this one didn't say thank you and this one didn't whatever. That's different, and that causes chaos for ourselves. Right? And when we talk about that dis-ease, mistrust, we talk about all of the negative emotions being fear-based. And what is it? What's fear? I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm going to lose what I have. If I don't do this, I'll lose the love and respect of the kids. Right? Or they won't care about me, or they won't look up to me, or they won't, whatever it is, they won't want to hang out with me. Those fears. Right? That we do learn to get better. You're so much better at it. We do learn to get so much better at it. And I commend you for the amount of work that you've done, because the amount of work that you've done is amazing.
Thank you. Lots to do.
We all do, right? So we're in it together, man.
So part of this learning is what we learn from each other when we're sharing, and when we're speaking, and when we're participating in learning opportunities. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I learn so much from every single person that participates in our meetings on every week. That's why we've been doing it for 2 years, okay?
Exactly.
And also, I just find that as an ongoing process. What I learn today and what I learn tomorrow are two totally different things.
Yeah, and the way that I look at it today and the way that I look at it tomorrow, that's my perspective. And that's part of our journey in recovery, is learning to change our perspective so that we can feel better, right? So that we can feel happy. And once we are happy, that allows us to be of service without wanting that payback, just to actually be of service to one another. So Karen, thank you for being the amazing human being that you are, and for sharing so much with me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Bonnie?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Traveler.
Hi.
Yeah, it's been a good journey. As everyone knows, I was on, or most people know, I was on a cruise this week. So it was interesting in recovery.
Yeah, no, we're losing her.
Just taking care of myself from the things that oh, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just have a little bit of a bad connection. Go ahead.
Oh, anyway, I think what I basically learned is just making sure I take care of myself, but also preparation, because it's easy to say I want to take care of myself, but if I don't have my tools, whether it's my books or my my different musics that gets me going, I could definitely fall back into that stinking thinking. And then it's just standing up for myself. I was sharing briefly, I was with another couple that liked to eat, and they kept on offering me dessert, and I said, no worries, I don't want. And then like it would go on, and finally I just disengaged from the conversation. And I remember he said, like, earth to Bonnie, and I realized, I don't even want to be a part of the conversation. I like if you didn't want to stop, and it wasn't all the time, but it was that particular day. And I just thought it was interesting, because later that day, I don't want to get into what people do, but it's just about taking care of what I have to do. If you're going to do whatever you're going to do, I can't be your mother. So learning that.
You have a little bit of anger there, huh?
Well, I was upset because
yes.
I was upset because I was trying so hard to just like not get crazy about what they were doing, and then like I think people just like to, the type of person that they like, people like to instigate. I grew up in a family of instigators, and maybe that's what
Oh, okay.
triggered.
So that triggered something for you. Because remember, we're going to forgive them, for they know not what they do. Right? So there, I bet, I'm going to guess that their intention wasn't to wake up in the morning and piss you off. Right? They didn't wake up in the morning and say, hey, today's a new day. I think I'll do everything that I can to piss Bonnie off. Correct? And so what their intention was come on, aren't you going to have dessert with us, whatever. What was their intention? Who knows? If we're going to make up a story, let's, as Felice always says, if we're going to make up a story, let's make up a good one. Wow, you know what? This is kind of a sharing thing. I understand how people are when they're eating because I was that person. And I know that a lot of that's a lot of people's love language, right? I'm going to share a piece of cake with you. And so some people may feel like, wow, they were giving you a gift that you weren't accepting. And so we're going to understand that the way that they act is because of them, which has nothing to do with you. And I'm going to get to you, Ange. And to be able to say, hey, you guys, thanks so much. No, thank you. And just let it go. And again, forgive them for they know not what they do, so you don't have to be angry. Because at the end of the day, the part that matters is you being happy and not being angry.
Yeah.
That's the recovery part, Mamala.
I think the only thing that probably made me angry was when I said no. He said, well, let's just order everything and you could just smell it. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I'm like not even wanting to be there. You do what you want. But then when he was going out of his way to like, I guess like you say love, but I got nervous because I wasn't triggered by anything on the cruise. I was actually fine. I mean, it didn't bother me, but I think I think part of my addiction was definitely just like want that aroma around.
Okay.
So when he said that, that's when I thought like, that's when I engaged. Like,
Okay.
I don't even want to go there.
And remember, the recovery part is about you feeling okay. And that if you did get angry, again, you're mad and then thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm going to forgive them for they know not what they do. Because it's not their intention. We're going to make up the good story. It's not their intention to hurt me. They don't know any better. And so I'm going to forgive them. Why do we forgive other people? So that we could be happy, right, Ange? So that we could be happy. Not for them. They're happy or not, that's up to them. That's got nothing to do with me. But when I'm not walking around with anger, I'm happier.
Right.
So remember that. It's about the way that you feel about what's happening, not about changing what's happening, because we can't, very, very little bit we could change what's happening, right? Whole lot we could change our perspective, right? Thank you. Ange, you want to share?
Yeah, when Bonnie brought that situation up, it reminded me of a meeting we had about a year ago. And it was very controversial because most of us disagreed with you.
Uh-oh. Because I care so much about that.
But what I remember the takeaway being is that, you know, sometimes as food addicts, I guess from our point of view, it's some people take it as a place of shame or whatever it is. But if we come right out and say I'm in recovery, you have this thing you used to say, nobody shits on anybody's recovery.
Right, because nobody shits on my recovery. I can promise you that.
Right, and so when we deal with it in that sense and maybe come right out straight away and say I'm in recovery and I don't eat X, Y, and Z or whatever, then it's a way to deal with it more directly.
And it also lets us be out.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. For me, I am. Everybody knows I'm in recovery. Everybody knows I'm an addict in recovery, and I'm comfortable with that. For the people that aren't comfortable with the fact that I'm an addict who right now is in recovery, not in active addiction, F them if they can't take a joke, man. I don't care. That's not about me, as long as I'm showing up and doing my best to do my best. And that's when we told that story about, you know, if somebody comes up to me and says, you want to do a shot with me, no is a complete sentence. And so I should be able to say no to anybody, right? Just no. A lot of times, no doesn't quell the situation. Oh, come on, it'll just be a drink. We'll have so much fun. Don't you want to drink with me? But it's funny because I was watching Bull, that show Bull,
I
and
love
he's
Bull.
supposed to be, so he's supposed to be in recovery, right? And then he meets the girl, and it was this whole big thing. But for me, I know right away when I say, no thanks, I'm in recovery, go ahead and have a drink for me. Nobody says nothing. They say, oh, that's awesome. And that's it.
Do you remember last year for my birthday, you went out with my family to dinner, and it was my birthday, and so they brought a cake at the end. Not my family, the restaurant. And everyone was like, you have to take a bite, and Felice was like, no, she doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
And it's different from the past, because after that was said and it was known, it's like nobody bothers me to take a bite of anything now. So
Right.
it's just interesting how when you set the tone for your recovery, people respect that and they follow through with your own intentions for yourself.
So we're talking about boundaries.
Yeah.
Healthy boundaries. Yes, ma'am.
So what this makes
Thank
me
you, Bonnie.
remember, Bonnie, what it brings to mind is also different stages when I started in the journey. I had bariatric surgery, and when I first started, being around that kind of situation made me very resentful. I felt that I was missing out. I felt that I was losing out. I never had the tools to be able to look at things differently as I do today, because I felt that I was being punished. And in the beginning, I was around people who were also using food. I was around people who ate not only because they love to eat, because a lot of them had weight issues as well and were struggling with it, but were using food. And being around them, I think I also triggered something in them. We kind of cross-fed off each other. But I also sometimes had to walk away from things. When things became really uncomfortable, I'd tell people to enjoy it and leave. I always had that choice. I have feet, I can use them, and I don't need to be mean or anything until I'm at that stage where I'm feeling comfortable. Today it doesn't bother me, and people know, because I'm very upfront and outspoken about it, is enjoy, I'm happy you enjoying it, but it's just not for me, and it's that simple. I don't justify it, I don't discuss it more, and I don't engage. And I think if we keep revisiting it and allowing people to discuss it more and more, then it becomes more a conversation of maybe I can get you or manipulate you to do something that I want you to do, and then that doesn't work for me anymore.
Can you do me a favor and check to see if we're still live on Facebook, because my
Yes.
computer says it's not working. Okay,
We are,
perfect.
and we have a question.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and take a question. Go ahead.
Okay, Sarah says,
Hi, Sarah.
more of a statement, I guess, what we
Okay.
can respond to.
Okay.
But Felice, I think that people on the outside meaning understand alcoholics recovery, but they don't get food recovery.
Why is that? Why is that? Right now, alcoholism and drug addiction is everywhere out there, right? All of the cool kids are in recovery. We use the word recovery. Use the word recovery. You don't need to say I'm a food addict. First of all, you don't need to say anything. But I'm telling you, once you use the word recovery, people stop talking. People stop arguing. People say, no, you know what, I'm not eating chocolate, I'm in recovery. And I guarantee you 99% of the people are going to say, okay. And that's it. And I've always said from the beginning, when I wanted to start Why Wait for Recovery, and originally I had this idea where I wanted to open up an inpatient treatment center for food addiction. And my thing was that food addiction, binging, purging, anorexia, bulimia, is the most disrespected addiction. 65% of the population is overweight and 30% of the population is obese in the United States. And 20 million people are being treated for diabetes that have no business being treated for diabetes if they would change their lifestyle. But the thing is that it's not that it's disrespected by the community. It's disrespected by all of us. It's disrespected by the addict. The addict doesn't respect themselves. I use that word recovery 100 times a day. I'm in recovery. This one's in recovery. I talk about recovery. Recovery taught me this. Recovery, recovery, recovery. It's kind of like, learning about anything else that's helpful for me or for somebody else. But people who have food addiction, they don't talk about it. They don't talk about it, and they allow others to manipulate without stopping it, or do their best to manipulate it without stopping it.
So as a food addict and coming from a family of food addicts and generations of food addicts, I honestly believe it. I always believe that I was shamed from a very young age. Like, don't eat like a pig. This isn't good for you. This is bad for you. Carbs are good. This is bad. So it's constant feeding into my psyche from like a really young age. Eat properly. Don't eat properly. Why are you so fat? Why aren't you? So it was all these constant conversations that I carried so much guilt and shame that even after I had surgery, I thought I was a problem. I thought I never had enough willpower, that I wasn't strong enough, that I wasn't capable of sticking to a diet, even though I knew I could do things for short periods of time. And I'd gained and lost probably 600 pounds in my lifetime because I could do the diets and I was really good girl on them for very short periods of time, until I actually realized that shame and guilt that I harbored in me had nothing to do with willpower. It really, I suffer from a disease and I'm an addict. And the way that my relationship with food or with whatever other substance is because I have got a disease that once I start something, I can't stop it. Or I can stop for a short period of time, but I can't stay stopped. And the thinking that it takes me to is denigration, demoralization, beating myself up, wanting to kill myself at the end of the day. That basically I'm unhappy and miserable and I don't want to be in the body I'm in or looking the way that I do, and constantly judging myself and ending up miserable. So I've realized that food addiction is a deadly disease. You know, we don't see the long-term, we only see long-term effects from it. As a drug addict, and my friends that are drug addicts in recovery, I could see they slide into wherever they were going if they were using heroin or something stronger, because it happens so quickly. As food addicts, it's something that we live with and we can hide and no one knows because they don't smell it on your breath and you don't act any differently and you don't look any differently. Just your clothes start getting tighter or they start getting looser depending where you are on the scale. But the feelings that you feel on the inside are exactly the same. So until we step into that ownership and until we make it a priority and until we turn around and say, listen, I believe that this is as deadly as any other addiction out there, and I am an addict in recovery, and these are my boundaries. It's not for anyone else to take it seriously. It's for us to take our own recovery seriously. It's for us to value it. No matter what anyone else is doing, it's none of our business. What we are doing to stay in recovery is really, that's the essence of everything.
And first learning that it ain't about food. It's not about the food. You talk about dieting. Dieting is about food. Addiction has nothing to do with food. The physical craving, and that's definitely that's part of the addiction. That's the way that our brain is wired. That's this much of it. So we get abstinent so that we can step into recovery, and we stay in recovery so that we could get well, get happy, and remain abstinent, almost as a side effect of staying in recovery. Ange?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to circle back to the whole reasoning, whether it be shame or whatever, as to why we don't call it recovery or addiction or make it known. I think it's important for people to know that it doesn't, so we come to that place where we're able to identify this as food addiction and we're able to say we're in recovery after we work on it for an extended period of time and we get to that point. But just because you don't believe that right now doesn't mean you can't start working on your recovery or on your food addiction, because just excuse me, like for example with myself, I don't think I believed for the first year and a half I was a food addict. It was a thing I didn't argue about or I didn't say anything about. But as long as you do the things that are suggested of you and you continue to work on your recovery, you can get better and worry about what you call it later.
Yeah, and so I love that you said that, because Angela didn't believe any of it.
No.
She believed that she was sick enough that she had to do something or she was going to die. That part you believed.
Yeah, and I believed that Felice was going to help me because her card said doctor on it. If
Right.
it didn't, I would have walked away from her.
And she would have, right.
I didn't care so much that, yeah, I wasn't gonna.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I
Yes, you
wasn't
did.
gonna let a fat person help me, because actually Felice was the only skinny person in an OA meeting. Well, Felice and Haiti were both there,
Right.
but she raised her hand as a sponsor, and so, yeah, I went up to you, and then you gave me your card, and I was like, oh, this is great, like 2 for 1.
Right. So, but in the beginning, and like you said, it doesn't matter if you think you're an addict or not. If you think you have a problem, And you guys, you know, people who say, oh, well, I just love food and I just overeat. You know, I overeat sometimes, and especially the people that say, no, well, I eat perfectly. You know, I have a glandular problem. With those excuses that we make, you know, I went to the neurologist because I was shaking all the time. I was shaking all the time because I was a freaking alcoholic. We used to have the DTs during the day. You know, it's amazing. You know, they say denial is not just a river in Egypt. It's the truth, man. We walk around in this denial. It doesn't matter what we call it or what we don't call it. If you're in a place where you wake up, you go to bed guilty, you wake up ashamed, and you know there's something going on and you need some help, doesn't matter what it's called, reach out and reach out for some help.
So I was having a chat with a friend of mine the other day. She's going through a lot of stress and there's a lot of stuff going on with work and things like that. And she said to me, I've gained so much weight. I've gained 15, 20 pounds. There's all this stress going on. I'm going to go on a diet and lose it all. Oh, so I'm going to lose it again. So I said to her, so when stress happens, you start punishing yourself. So you do everything to hurt yourself because that's ultimately where it takes us. So as a food addict, we turn to the food. As a drug addict, it's drugs, whatever it is. So as soon as stress in life shows up, what do? We go to that substance and we use
Right.
and we hurt ourselves.
Yeah, we do our best to change our brain chemistry so that we could feel a little bit differently for a second or for an hour or forever long, how long that is, with that effect that we're always scared and we're sick and we're ashamed and we're demoralized. And we get to the point where we're like, how did I get here? You know, I mean, like, that's my favorite part of my relapse story is that I said, like, I don't know how it happened, but I do know how it happened. I ate the pills. Like, it's really basically that simple. What was going on in my heart or in my head or in my soul that allowed me to relapse? That was the part that I needed to understand. Not that I ate the pills, because eating the pills part is easy to understand. Understanding what drives me spiritually, understanding what's driving my addiction, understanding what's making me sad or sick or scared or just not wanting to be who I am in my own skin today, that's the stuff that we're going to get to. And that's going to be about our changing our perspective, or having a different understanding about the world around us having acceptance for, you know, life is stressful. There's a whole bunch of stress out there. How much we play into it, that's about us. That's about us choosing our own chaos, about what we learn to step away from, what we learn to smile at, Bonnie, what we learn to forgive them for they know not what they do. And understanding that everything that's happening in the universe isn't about me. It's just the universe happening the way that the universe is happening.
So I just wanted to mention something because you speak about learning and all these opportunities. I haven't been very present in the last month because I lost my father. Life happens, it sucks. But anyway, I just haven't been present here. We've been talking about doing another workshop. So anyone who's interested, just text us or IM us now. So we know to include you. You can also look on our website. If you join our forum, you automatically start getting emails and notifications at sowhywait.net. We're looking at doing one in February. And we're going to come back to you over the next 2 weeks. Well, by next weekend, we should be able to tell you when.
Yeah, we'll tell you the exact date. Liz, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Let's see, you guys have said everything that I was going to say. I'll just kind of reiterate. So originally, Haiti had asked what brought us here to the group. And my story is very similar to Karen's in that I had just had weight loss surgery. I was maybe 4 or 5 weeks post-op, and I happened upon the group via Facebook on another group. And I knew at the time that because I had dieted many times over the years, I knew how to lose weight. I just couldn't keep it off. It always came back and more and more and more and more. And, you know, because I had had surgery, I thought, you know, this is my last, you know, ditch effort to finally lose the weight. I need to figure out what's going on in my head and in my heart if this is going to be a, you know, long-term lifetime solution for me. So anyway, being in recovery, what that's taught me is that let me come back. My reason for having the surgery was because I didn't want to be hungry anymore. That was my number one reason. And what I've learned from being in recovery is that I was never physically hungry for food. I was, my fears were hungry, my anger was hungry, and I was feeding all of that stuff with food. That was my substance of choice. And what I've learned, is through recovery and through working with you guys is, like you said, to change my perspective and to change the way I think. And yes, I still have my days, a lot of days where I have the addictive thinking, but I'm not picking up, I'm not, falling into those old patterns and abusing myself and hurting myself anymore. And I've been able to find some happy, like you said. Isn't that what we all want at the end of the day, is to just find some happiness?
Yeah. And Liz, Liz has struggled, and you've struggled. The thing about your struggle is that you do it outside, right? So you do it online. So you say how pissed off you are at me. So you say, I'm throwing this thing at you, I'm F you, Felice. But like Angeli, you do it anyway. No matter what I ask you to do, you do it anyway. Karen, no matter what I've asked of you to do, you do it anyway. No matter how much they hate me for it, at that time, they do it anyway. Understanding or not understanding why, for these two folks and for Angeli, never mattered. They just do it because I've asked them to, and because I've said, you know what, I think if you do this work, it's gonna help you get better. Karen never came in kicking and screaming. Angeli didn't either. Liz did. Liz was pissed off and discontent and F you, and she wasn't an addict. And you had all those things going on the outside, which was good. It was really good that you were really verbal about it, because that helps others to take a look at it and say, yeah, me either. And then for people to be able to see you guys get well, especially when on the outside you're still kicking and screaming, and seeing that you're doing what was asked of you and that you're getting well, that when you talk about being of service, because you don't get pissed off on why wait for recovery or on what's eating you to get really any response. You're just pissed off and you're saying it. And other people see it, and that's the biggest way I'm gonna tell you that you're of service, to be able to help others. Because I can promise you, when you're angry about 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 other people are like, yeah, that bitch, man, like, who does she think she is? And that makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. I'm a physician assistant. I have patients that argue with me at the office, and I'm like, oh, okay, be sick. I don't care. For me, I'm just a person who's hanging out here, who's giving you some suggestions. Do whatever you want to do. Stay exactly where you are. I don't care, because I don't care. I care in the respect that my hope for you is that you're going to change your perspective and your actions so that you get well. But is it going to mess up my day? Ain't going to mess up my day. Right? Your happiness or lack of it, your fear or lack of it, doesn't change the way that I go through my day to day. Right? And so with those people that came in and didn't know why they were doing what they're doing, but did it anyway, you're going to see that those are people that have a whole lot of recovery. And that's just the way that it is, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct?
Correct. So Liz, thank you so much for sharing, sweetie. I want to tell you, I got goosebumps and I teared up, and you remind me why we do this every week as well. I've been going through this thing of maybe I should sleep in on Sundays. This is just, it's becoming a have to, and do I really want to? And I started having all these conversations with myself. And then all of a sudden I go in and I start seeing people that are getting it. And that for me, I can't explain. It just puts me, it makes me so happy. It's just the craziest.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. And when you talk, it's authentic and honest. And it's not for others to think you're great or fantastic or whatever it is. It's just you being you. And I love you for the human being you are. And you're just generous and warm and giving and just honest. And that is my learning. I learn from you all the time, and thank you.
She's not generous and warm and giving
No,
to me.
no, I know, but to me, I'm not the fucky one. I can be the nice one.
Right, exactly. and that part is the part that makes me so
Yeah.
happy. So
Yeah,
and that's
thank
really true. So watching everybody in this transformation is amazing. You're going to talk, and then we'll take the question in a second.
Right. So you mentioned something else, that you found us in another group, and there are few of us, the 3-4 of us over here. If you find that you're in groups, share us. You know, you never know who else can learn or gain something just from hearing one of us sharing,
lose them.
or lose something, lose a whole lot of stress and anxiety. But share it within your groups. You know, our videos are posted on YouTube. What we do to be of service, and done.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Question.
Yes. Annette asks,
Hi, Annette.
how do you slow the brain down to think about why I am hungry or want to eat?
So how you slow the brain down is so that's learned. That's something that we need to learn. Remember, when we're in active addiction, we're living in the midst of chaos, thinking about how and why and when and we're so important, and we're so self-centered, and everything that's happening is happening inside of us, as opposed to taking a look at the world, right? And learning to slow that brain down. Those are the things that we get into in detail in workshop. Those are the things that other people are going to share their experiences with you, and we're going to learn to take a look at ourselves differently. We're going to learn to change the things that we look at. We're going to learn to look at other things beside just how am I feeling? How am I doing? How is the world affecting me? Or how, which is the false part, or how it is that I'm looking at the world and allowing it to affect me. All of those things we learn more about. So please reach out to Ange, or go on the webpage, or join What's Eating You, or go on Why Wait for Recovery, or something. I am one of us. And find out how you get into a workshop to participate in a workshop. And thank you for reaching out.
Annette, thank you for asking that question. You know, when I first stepped in, I got brought here by a friend. So a friend introduced me to recovery. I thought I knew everything. You know, I came in with all the answers to absolutely everything.
And you weren't an addict, by the way.
And I wasn't an addict.
Not at all.
And everyone else was a problem in my world. Okay, that was where I started. And I was miserable. You know, that's a crazy thing. But I've realized something, that, you know, when they say think outside the box, we only know what's inside our box. You know, we've been doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results. The same thinking keeps bringing us back to the same point in time. And what the workshops and the learnings do for me is it gives me different information, stuff that I haven't been exposed to, or things that I don't know about. And it helps me shift my perspective, and it gives me tools to be able to deal with life as life happens. And part of that, besides service and all the other things that come into it, is being in community. And being in communities, that's why we have the website, sowhywait.net, and that's why we have What's Eating You on Facebook, so that we stay connected. So when we have a challenge, or we've got a joy, or we've got something going around us that we want to verbalize, it gives us a tool to be able to share it with others who are just like us. So we're not being judged, and we're able to share in a really non-judgmental, safe space to be able to learn something, because you never know what kind of input. And I'm not talking opinions, I'm talking true solutions to challenges that are based in recovery. You get amazing information and feedback back.
Yeah, you know, the fact that I'm not unique, that's like a big part of it right there, that my problems are so different from everybody else's. And if you could just feel how I feel, right, Angeli?
Yeah.
If you understood how I feel, you would use too. You know, I go back to that movie where I love that movie. Was it 28 Days?
Yeah.
In 28 Days, where her counselor is speaking and he's telling his story. And he says, you know, man, like if anybody could feel the way that I feel, you know, they would, of course, they would tell me that it was okay to use. And we all think that we're unique like that. Annette,
Yes.
I want you to go up to, I want you to join So Why Wait. Go up on the website, but also SOWHYWEIGHT that's our private community. And I want you to, I'm going to challenge you to post a gratitude list until next Sunday. At least you should be, we do it just about every day. But 3 things that you're grateful for and your strength for the day. That's going to show that you have some willingness, and also going to show that you're in a place where you would like to start changing your perspective. And so I'm going to put that challenge out to you and to everybody else that's out there today.
So if you're just joining us now and you've missed most of the meeting, or you want to see some of past meetings, because we kind of only have 5 minutes left. So we keep an archive of all our past videos. They're up on YouTube. Go have a look at them. If you feel like finding out more on different topics, it's all up there and it's free and it's yours to use and share. We get together every Sunday for an hour. And we meet 9:30 to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you feel someone else could benefit, invite them, be of service, invite a friend, extend a hand. You know, they may enjoy it, they may not, they might just bring you back. You never know.
Talk about Zoom. People are asking how they join.
To join our meetings, go to our website. It is sowawake.net, and you just sign up there. We'll send you the instructions. It's easy to do. You can join us on your phone, on your laptop, whatever's comfortable for you. So just join there.
Just to cut you off for a second. And so it'll be like you're live in the room and you can interact with you two and the rest of us.
So the way it works is basically the live stream is only of Felice and I. That gets zoomed, that gets sent out via the great universe. People join us privately. You can't see them, but you can hear them, and that's how we keep people's anonymity.
Anonymity.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, and so the people that are on Zoom, you guys are here in the room with us, and we see you and you see us, which is really cool because you could be anywhere in the world. We have people from everywhere in the world, and you can actually sit in on the meeting, and we get to know you, and we get to see your face, and we know when you're not okay, and we know when you are okay, and it allows us to have a closer relationship with you, and it's an extra way for you to reach out and be of service to others as well. So go ahead and join us.
Do you want to? Oh, and I just want to say, being of you, we are so grateful to Ahmed and to Anjali and to the West Broward Club. You know, every single week these guys show up and they help get the message out and they participate and they set up. There's a lot of equipment that goes into this thing, and between setting it up and breaking it down, they are of service. And Ange does so much work online. We appreciate you guys so much, and we are really grateful. Thank you, and to you. Thank you.
And thank you to you as well. And you're here today.
So
that's awesome.
So do you want to take us out?
Yeah, and so we're going to have a 2-hour intensive workshop in February. We're going to go ahead and put that date up sometime this week, or at least by next week. We have some other intensive workshops that are 7 weeks, 4 weeks, and we'll start giving you information about that as well. I'm so blessed and so grateful to be in recovery. My name is Dr. Felice Cellini. This has been our Sunday morning Why Wait for Recovery community meeting.
And my name's Haiti, and I'm so grateful to you for being part of my journey of recovery, and also to have this opportunity to be here every single week. And if no one's told you today that they love you, I love you. Have a beautiful week.
Peace out, you guys.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Elise, a quick question.
Sure.
I think I'm feeling better than I was yesterday, but I didn't